What is going on, guys, and welcome back to Touchdowns to Home Runs. My name is Bernie. Thank you for joining us today on the Touchdowns to Home Runs show. Hope that your day is going absolutely fantastic. Now, we're within a day now from this year's 2021 French Open tournament, so today we're going to be doing a bit of a preview. I'll be giving you my thoughts on the top 8 seeds of the bracket, then we'll look between 17 and 25. I'll be giving you some more sleeper picks who could make it far in the tournament, and then we'll be looking at some unranked guys. I got a couple of those people that I think could make some deep pushes into this tournament. But let's get started. So the number 1 seed in this tournament is, of course, Novak. Won his 18th major earlier on this year, and he's had a pretty good year. I'm a little shaky and inconsistent at times, but I definitely think he is probably the second biggest favorite to win this tournament behind Rafa, you would think, just because Rafa beat him earlier on this year. He's just coming off a tournament win. We'll get to that in just a second, but he does have a couple of not so great losses this year. I know Kuratsev, even though he's been playing some really solid tennis in 2021. Also Daniil Evans. But again, I think Novak is getting hotter at the right time. He wasn't fantastic this week, but he did enough. I thought he was a little shaky on serve. Did win the Belgrade tournament fairly easily, only dropped 1 set over the course of the week, but did get broken probably a few too many times. Gave away a set yesterday, got broken twice in the match today. But obviously I have high expectations for Novak. Overall, just a very, very solid player, and I think, again, he's getting better and better and more consistent as 2021 progresses. He does have a bit of a tricky first-round match. He is facing Tennys Sandgren, which, you'd obviously expect Novak to win, but I do think, he will have to be playing some solid tennis there to get that done. Next up, Medvedev as the 2 seed. He's got a bit of a tricky first round matchup as well in Bublik. And he's also not great on the clay court. He's more of a hard court surface kind of guy. But overall, he's got a great serve, got the great ground game. I know a lot of people will have him as an upset pick here, potentially earlier on in this bracket. But I'm sort of on the opposite side. With Novak, Nadal, and Federer all on the same side of the draw for this tournament, I think that the other side, particularly for a guy like Medvedev, it's wide open to make a really deep push into this tournament. So we'll have to see sort of what Medvedev is able to do over the course of the next week or two. But I don't expect him to take an early exit, as I think a lot of people are saying. Next up, Rafa Nadal. He's been playing some great tennis, obviously coming off the tournament win against Djokovic, just been playing some great tennis overall, won Rome. He didn't play this past week, but, overall, he's doing what Nadal does. He's looked a little inconsistent at times. I know a lot of people are thinking maybe this isn't the Nadal that we've seen possibly in the past couple of years. He needs to get his serve consistency up. There's no doubt about it if he's going to win this French Open, beat a guy like Djokovic, maybe a guy like Tsitsipas later on in this tournament. That first serve percentage definitely has to be higher than it's been over the course of the past couple of weeks, but really consistent in the ground game. He's done a great job battling back, not losing matches that maybe he should have the past couple of weeks, but again, he's had some great wins as well. Djokovic, Shapovalov, the list goes on and on. Number 4 is potentially one of the most interesting guys, in my opinion, in this tournament, and it's Dominic Thiem. Because he's had a struggling year so far, and not just on the clay court, but in the year in general. He's only got a 9-6 record on the season, lost his last match against Cam Norrie, but overall just not looking as, the number 4 seed that we know him as in the French Open. I just don't know. I've watched him a lot in 2020, 2021 over the course of his career. He's just a guy who can be inconsistent, but he's also, very good on the ground. He's got a good serve that's been inconsistent as of late. So again, need that consistency from Dominic Thiem. He opens against Pablo and Duhar, which is not, a too tricky match. I know he's had some good matches as of late, but I think Thiem should be able to get that done. So again, we'll have to see. Next up, I believe, yes, it's Stefanos Tsitsipas, and what a year it's had. You talk about some of the wins that Tsitsipas has had, coming off a tournament win in France last week, but also had, a great match against Novak, which he probably would have won if there were no rain delays, beat Berrettini. The list goes on and on. What you're getting with Stefanos Tsitsipas is just a guy who's really consistent. Obviously, he's great on serve, he's great on the ground game, he's great in the return game. He really does it all. But what I've seen, probably the biggest difference between him maybe last year or 2 years ago is that mindset. There's been a lot of times where Tsitsipas has gotten into some holes, particularly early on in matches, or, maybe the second sets of matches, but he's great at battling back. He does not let you get back into matches. And if you give him even the slightest hole to do anything against you, Stefanos Tsitsipas knows how to pounce on those opportunities. That's the biggest difference that I think. And, sometimes we forget this kid's only 22 years old. And the amount of wins, the maturity of this kid is so impressive at that age. Zverev next. Again, he's been pretty good this year overall. He's won plenty of matches, Madrid being the most notable. I think the biggest thing with Zverev is just, can he string together 21 sets that will win him his first major? Zverev is a guy who can look like he can beat Novak on any given day, but then other times looks like he will get upset. I think, there's such a big gap in the quality of where Zverev's is at his best tennis compared to where he can be at some days. So again, I think it's very possible with this type of wide open bracket that we see Zverev make a deep push into this tournament. But again, I think it's up in the air. Rublev, he's had a good year. He just seems not to get it done in terms of actually being able to win tournaments. Last tournament beat Bautista Agut, but then lost to Sonego, lost to Isner this year. He's struggled a bit at times. I think, again, he's a guy who's inconsistent with the serve, but I think he can be inconsistent with the ground game as well. He's a guy who can make some errors at times. He won't be able to do that in this tournament. Opens up against Struff. I don't expect him to be an early exit. I definitely expect him to make possibly like the quarterfinals, but I definitely think he's a guy who needs to make the semifinals, possibly further, be a big boost for his career. Roger Federer at number 8 is an interesting one because Federer obviously is still known in that big three with Djokovic and Nadal, and then obviously Federer being the third. And I think obviously he has the potential to make a deep run in this tournament. What worries me is the matches that he hasn't played. Obviously took most of last year off, and then this year, lost Geneva in the first round, and then lost Qatar in the second round. So I just am worried he doesn't have enough matches under his belt, particularly this year. I'm worried he's not up to speed. Even if he is practicing, it's really hard to convert that into games. So I would have liked Federer to make it deep into some of the tournaments that he's played up until now. But again, you never know with Federer. He's such a competitor. He's actually played some decent matches. He's just not at the quality that we've seen him at some past years. Moving down the rankings, let's skip on to number 15. I really, really like Casper Ruud. Casper Ruud is a guy who surprised me this year because you never really would think of him as a guy to maybe put some bets on, come a major time. But his last tournament, the Geneva Open, which he won, really impressed me. That match against Shapovalov, Shapovalov was a little bit hurt. And Shapo had also played, I think that was his 4th match in 3 days just because of the rain delays. But yeah, 7-6, 6-4, he won that. It was very comfortable. Ground game looked good. He's pretty good on serve. Shapo had some troubles, especially in the first set against that. But yeah, overall, just a really, really sound player. And he's been good over the course of this year. Made the semis in Madrid before he lost to Berrettini, but does have a win against Tsitsipas, which is rare this year. He's just had a fantastic, fantastic year. I think 15... is a spot where, he is able to make some upsets, do some damage, so look out for him. Yannick Sinner is an interesting one. Let me find his seed. Yeah, he's 19. This is his first major where he's actually seeded in the tournament, so I'm curious to see what he can do with some expectations. Hasn't been great in terms of actually getting the wins done. He's actually lost quite a bit this year, some not so great losses as well. Beat Kuratsev, lost in the second round in the France tournament. Had a really good match, though, 2 weeks ago against Nadal. His serve is really good. Obviously, Sinner is an extremely, extremely hard hitter. Needs that consistency, needs to find some accuracy. But I'm really curious to see what he does sort of the first time that Sinner actually has some expectations going into a major tournament. Obviously, Kuratsev, he's been probably the biggest story in tennis so far. Went into the last major unranked. Made it all the way, I think it was to the semifinals. He's had a great year this year. A superb story from the 27-year-old. Again, lost to Sinner in his last match, but he's made it really, really deep in some matches. He's had a couple games against Djokovic this year, beat Diego Schwartzman. So he definitely has some upsets under his belt this year. I'm curious again to see what Kuratsev does with some expectations in this tournament, but some big expectations. Lorenzo Mussetti is another guy that I like. Let me find his ranking. Mussetti, is he ranked? No, Mussetti is unranked here, I think. But again, another dark horse kind of guy. Mussetti is a guy who really surprised me. Not last week. He did lose to Nishioka, but I think it was in France. Yeah, had a really nice match against Tsitsipas. Or not a nice match. It was a really good set and a half, sort of, but beat Bedene, beat Auger-Aliassime, beat even Corda, who we're going to be talking about in just a second as well. Mussetti is only 19 years old, doesn't have a ton of experience under him, but he's such a fun guy to watch. He really is. Plays with a lot of energy, but he's really fundamentally sound, I think, for his age as well, which is what's really surprised me in the few matches that I've watched of him this year. So I would definitely look out for him. His first round match is not easy, though. Obviously, he's unranked, so he's facing 13 David Goffin, but, you know, Goffin lost last week. I think he lost to Bedene, I'm pretty sure it was. So again, this is a pretty decent opportunity, I think, for Mussetti to possibly get a first round upset. And last guy, another dark horse, unranked guy. I like Sebastian Corda. Just won the Challenger Parma today, but had a great week. Beat Sonego, beat Nishioka, beat Tommy Paul, beat Cecchinato today. And did it without dropping a set. He's been fantastic. He's 20 years old. He's young. I think he was the furthest... Yeah, he was the last American standing in the tournament last year. Again, 20 years old. This kid is only getting better and better. He's a guy that not a lot of people are talking about for the quality of tennis that he produces and at his age as well. So look out for Sebastian Corda, another dark horse sleeper. But anyways, guys, if you did make it to this point in the video, thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts, your predictions. Give me some sleepers down in the comment section below. Who do you guys like sort of as a dark horse to make it far in this tournament? And let me know your winners down in the comment section below as well. But if you did enjoy today's video, make sure to pound that thumbs up button. Make sure to subscribe to Touchdowns to Home Runs for more tennis content just like this. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again next time.